ladies and gentlemen, we have a scumbag seller of the week. That's right, everybody. We have a scumbag seller of the week right here in the fan community. And going off of that, I'm going to be talking about scalpers in general for really any type of market, though particularly the ones that I'm involved in, which would be ceiling fans and video games. And yeah, I'm going to talk about why I hate it and why it's complete and utter bullcrap. So, I was just scoundreling Marketplace, and I end up looking at some listings all the way down in Texas. Don't ask me why, I just was. And I see a listing for two Casablanca Fans. There was an IntelliTouch antique white and polished brass Zephyr with some pretty nice looking glass. And then there was an antique white and polished brass Four Seasons with cane blades, which is always cool. And that thing also had a 5-way light kit on it. I don't know if that one came with any glass. And the listing was marked as $40. I can't remember whether or not it was $40 total or each, but either way, that's not very much money for those kinds of fans. Of course, it's all the way down in Texas, and I'm in Philadelphia, so I can't get that. But within a couple of weeks, it's sold. And then I go on to eBay, to check there for anything cool. And I see two fans that look exactly the same listed for the Four Seasons was, I think, originally $400, though it may have gotten marked down to $300, which is still a lot more than it was originally listed for. It was either, I think it was $299.99, maybe it used to be $399.99, but I might be mistaken. And then there was probably a shipping fee on top of that. And the Zephyr, if I recall correctly, that one was listed at $800, $799.99, probably plus a shipping fee. So, this person, Mr. Sparkle, as his name on eBay is, bought these fans off of Marketplace and immediately relisted them for, what? In the Zephyr's case, 20 times its original price. And in the Four Seasons case, maybe like 8 times as much. Whatever 300 divided by 40 and 800 divided by 40 is. Yeah, so, and considering how fast they were relisted on eBay, I highly doubt whoever bought these, tested them, cleaned them, did anything of that sort. I mean, maybe they did, I can't immediately judge, but from the way it looks, they saw it as easy money. They bought them and then immediately flipped them on eBay, knowing that they could sell them for a lot of money. And whether or not the person who did this was a collector, I don't know, because even though the fan community is relatively small and relatively immune to scalpers and conning as a result of that, it's still very possible because, for instance, when I buy fans on Craigslist or OfferUp or any of the stuff like that, I always have a sense of security in knowing that the fan community is so small and that it's so unlikely someone would try to scam someone through a ceiling fan that it's very, very unlikely that there's ever going to be a Craigslist or OfferUp post out there that's, like a ceiling fan and it's a scam. Usually, if there's a posting like that out there that's trying to rob someone or scam them, it's going to be something more, desirable, like a couch, a car, something of that nature, I mean, have you ever heard of a Craigslist horror story where someone got scammed over a ceiling fan? I certainly haven't, and maybe there are some out there, but I digress. Anyways, so that's one of the nice things I've realized about the fan community. Generally speaking, the scalping is kept not that high. Of course, there are still people out there who do it, but it's not that bad, and we can usually ignore them and they'll go away, unlike the gaming community, which we could get into later. But it still happens. And case in point, this one here. This person bought these off of Marketplace and then seemingly immediately flipped them for multiple times their original prices. That's just, why? And considering how fast they were willing to flip them, it really, really makes me think that they don't really care about fans. It's not like they're going to take the time to clean up and refurbish them like other collectors might do, like Brian Hicks. You know, he might find originals for cheap and sell them for a lot more money, but he, you know, takes them apart, he thoroughly cleans them, he completely and utterly restores them before he lists them on eBay for a fair amount of money. And I think it's worth the price because his attention to detail when fixing those fans up and cleaning them is really, really good. So, yeah. Hashtag not sponsored by Brian Hicks. Anyways, he was just an example I came up with in the spur of the moment. Anyways, so for those who don't know what scalping is, it's pretty much when you, and I don't even know if scalping is the right word here. You could also define it under like reselling or flipping, because, you know, reselling, of course, is, you know, buying an item and reselling it. Flipping is when you buy an item and immediately resell it, usually for more in order to make a quick profit. Scalping is usually when you can kind of alienate the market, or when you can, you know, get your hands on something that people want and charge them a lot for it in order to make money. You know, it kind of happened with the NES Classic Edition. Scalpers were able to buy out the entire market, you know, when they were cheap and then sell them for way more money just to make an easy profit. So it's not like this person scalped per se, however it still feels like scalping. Because it's not like they bought like the entire supply of Casablanca Fans or anything. That'd be nearly impossible considering how mass-produced they were. Either way, it still gets on my nerves that someone would, you know, do something like that. Anyways, so let's move ahead a little bit into the gaming world, because that's where it's a lot more notorious, because almost everybody nowadays is aware that certain video games are worth a ton of money, way more than they should ever be worth. You know, when you have NES and Atari games that are worth upwards of $10,000 to $20,000, that's when you know it's just insanity. As I just mentioned, yeah, when the NES Classic Edition first came out, it was released in very limited supplies as a stupid decision by, I believe, Nintendo of Japan. And the scalpers were able to take full advantage of that. They bought them while they were cheap and then resold them all for much more expensive prices. Thankfully, they kind of fixed their mistake by producing more of them. And there have been other instances too, you know, where there may have been a certain game available and they just clear them all out and then resell them for more. It just pisses me off. It's just a jerky thing to do to ruin it for everyone else, so they have to pay way more money than they should just so you can make a profit. And again, going back to the fan listing, I'm not trying to judge this person. I'm sure they're a good person in real life and all that, but still, their practices of reselling there kind of scummy, especially considering you're reselling that Zephyr for $800 mother-freaking dollars. It's crazy. And you did technically scalp that marketplace listing and then just flipped them for seemingly no other reason than just to make some green bags. Yeah. And going off of that again, in the gaming world and also in the fan world to a small extent, there can oftentimes be people who charge either too much or a high amount of money for a fan or game that you might be looking for a good deal, and they'll just be like, oh, I know what I have, you know, like, you aren't going to lowball me. And it's just ridiculous, because then they're not going to accept, like, any offers that aren't, you know, a penny lower than the price they're expecting, which even in of itself is a little high expectations. It's just a broken practice in the market, and the gaming community is notorious for this sort of thing, and it's part of the reason that I seldom collect video games anymore. In the fan community, as long as you know where to look, you can avoid it, thankfully. So, yeah, that's just about all I have to say. I did veer off topic here and there, apologies for that, but hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say, and I'll see you all next time.